each week we've had a dissenting opinion, right? For the first 2 weeks, we had two guys pick one person, one guy picked another. Last week, we each picked somebody different. I have a feeling we're all going to agree this week. I have a feeling we're all going to agree on the player of the week this week. Do you want me to go first, or do you want you guys? You're housing the fries, so Bundy. Do you want to go first? Or you want me to go first?
You can go first.
All right, I'll
go
go
first last week.
All right, my player of the week this week, Trevor Zegras. How can it not be?
Yeah.
The way this guy's played.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got 15 points in 13 games. He's on pace for 95 points. I know, he's going to cool off at some point, you would think. But that's a heck of a start to a season, especially for a new team, especially coming off of the way he's played the last 2 years in Anaheim.
He was all over the ice last night in the first period,
Yeah.
especially against Montreal. And a lot of times he's carried this team through the early going of the season. The Flyers are today in a playoff spot. And I'll say mostly because of Trevor Zegras and some good goaltending early in the year.
Yeah. I mean, where would they be? Where would they be without Trevor Zegras?
Yeah,
right now?
well, yeah, you'd have to ask that question.
Well,
yeah, could be trouble.
Yeah.
They'd be in the basement. Although in this Eastern Conference, I mean, it's a parity reigns supreme right now, which we can get to a little bit later on. I will say, I said this earlier on my show this afternoon. There are a lot of people who owe a lot of thanks to Trevor Zegras.
Yeah.
Matvei Mishkov should be thanking Trevor Zegras. Travis Konechny should be thanking Trevor Zegras. Jet Lachenko could maybe thank Trevor Zegras. Jamie Drysdale can thank Trevor Zegras.
Well, Drysdale's been good, though.
I know, but follow me on this.
Okay.
Zegras, based on his point production, has taken a lot of that spotlight and a lot of that focus that was really firmly on Mishkov. Yes, there are still people monitoring, but Zegras has kind of lifted a little bit of that pressure off. Konechny's performance to this point in the season has not blown anyone away. We can get to, there was a report today about that. I would say that Zegras' production has kind of helped take a little bit of pressure off there. There's, of course, the guy who was drafted by this team who's no longer here, and there are two players who in some way, shape, or form can be viewed as, affiliated with that, right? Drysdale is one of them because that was the other piece of the trade. And Lachenko's taken a lot of the ire, I guess, of the fan base early in the year. Zegras' production there makes you say, all right, if he can be a top two center and you have Couturier and you have Cates, maybe it reduces that necessity that fans would put on Lachenko being here right now. Because you could say, hey, we're okay up the middle for right now. Takes a little bit of that pressure off. I think a lot of guys, honestly, should be thanking Trevor Zegras for the production so far.
Yeah, I mean, I look at the play that he made last night on the power play goal by Cam York.
The spinorama?
Yeah, well, yeah, and the no-look pass for a one-time goal. I mean, he's making the power play relevant. It's not going to be top of the league, but it's not going to be bottom of the league either.
Yep.
And that was, we said it, how many times did we say last year, Bundy, that if the power play were just average, how much better the Flyers would be?
Yeah.
Right? Like, it doesn't need to be great, just be an average power play.
Yeah, and last night it was great. I mean, the first period was really, really good. And I don't know how many more chances. I think they only got maybe one more chance at the end of the night by the time that the power plays were all said and done for.
Yeah.
But the power play this year, outside the first couple games, 2 or 3, 4 games of the year, it's actually done its job. Mm-hmm. It's garnered the Flyers points this year, which we have not really said in the past where the Flyers power play was abysmal. This year it's actually gotten them into play. It's gotten them to some overtimes. It's gotten them some extra points. It's done a really, really good job coming from where it's been before, and a lot of it is because of Zegras.
I would also point to the fact this guy seems to understand the city, and we could say that maybe that's because he's got friends on the team who knew what it was like to play here, and York and Drysdale. But he said all the right things. He was quoted last week as saying, like, when you come to a city like Philly with fans like this, with an expectation like this, you don't want to embarrass yourself. He came in here not being billed as, like, the savior of the team. I don't think anybody in the offseason was like, Trevor Zegras is going to turn this team around, make him a cup contender. But he certainly came in here with high expectations. And he's not just met them. I would say that to this point, early, small sample size, he's exceeded expectations.
No doubt.
Makes things really, really interesting because he's an RFA at the end of the year. And one has to assume that at some point there's got to be a little conversation between the team and his camp. What's the deal going to look like? The beauty of it is, thankfully, he's a restricted free agent, not an unrestricted free agent. But, man, if he keeps playing like this, that number is going to jump. If it levels off, or maybe not so much. So why don't you finish this out? And then
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
You ever played volleyball?
Yeah.
Were you the setter?
Why?
Because you just set me up.
I know. I
For-
try
for-
to do
for-
that.
you just set me up for like a big spike.
That's part of the facilitating that I try to do here.
Yes,
People are
yes.
here for Bundy. I guess they're here for you. And I just want to make you guys look as good as possible. And not just physically, because, I mean, let's compare the faces.
Yeah, but-
Bundy's a gosh darn stud over there, all right? Whoa, whoa.
No, but the reason I say that,
And you got to finish this off.
and I will finish it off because we're talking about Trevor Zegras, though.
And we're talking about the potential payroll.
Very
of the
nice.
Flags. See
Look,
that?
at, look at you, Russ. Look at you.
On my game this
but
week.
I wrote a story today on Pattison. It was actually a column, which is more so. The difference there is that it's more of an opinion piece. But I would tell you it's an informed opinion. And the suggestion is that yes, he's an RFA, but the Flyers would be wise to get him signed to an extension sooner rather than later. Now, I understand that in this business, negotiating contracts are never in the team's favor when a player is going really good.
Right.
Right? So, all the leverage is in the player's camp at that point. So maybe the Flyers wait a little bit to see if he cools off just a little. But I can tell you that they really like him. He really loves it here. Trevor Zegras he gets Philly. He wants to be a part of Philly. And I think that this is going to be an easy deal once they get to the negotiating. The thing that I think is the needle thread that you have to do is, let's say you had to sign him right now. Let's say you decided, we're going to go against convention. We're going to sign this guy, give him a contract, and he's going to be part of our core going forward. He's currently making, 5.6. So I would say you're going to give him a nice raise. His average annual value would probably be somewhere between like $7.5 and $8.5 million a year.
Yep.
Does that sound right?
I think it's going to be higher.
Well, no, but right now, if you had to do it right,
Based on like almost point per game production?
no, but where he's at, coming off of 5.6, 13 games in, if you were to do it today, that's probably the kind of raise he gets, somewhere between a $2 and a $3 million per year raise.
Yeah, somewhere in the eights, yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right, fine. The danger of waiting is, what if he has a 100-point season,
Correct.
right? Which is great. I mean, it's a good problem to have. But with the amount of money that's now out there in the NHL, with the cap room that the Flyers have at $46 million under the cap currently next year, I know they have 10 RFAs on the roster right now, but he's the most important of the 10, arguably. If you wait till the end of the season to start talking with Pat Brisson, his agent, are you then looking at something that's in the $9 million range or
Right.
or $10 million? You see what these guys are getting that are out there. We see these contracts, and all of a sudden it's like, holy crap! Like these guys might get overpaid. Does it make more sense to suck it up and say we might have to give a little bit more now than maybe we want to, but it's better to do that than to give a lot more than we want to later?
Yeah, I mean, you got a guy like Neskash that just got $11.5 million
Right.
a year for average for 8 years. So, I mean, listen, let's say Zegras has more points than him this year.
Right.
Yep.
You know, then
What do you do then? What do you think Brisson's going to compare him to?
Well, of course.
Yep.
Right?
Right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's a little bit of a double-edged sword waiting and then trying to do something that you can still fatten the number right now where he might make him happy.
Yeah.
But I agree. If he keeps going like this, I don't see it being under $9 million.
What do you see the term being, though? I guess is the
that's
a big part of it too.
That's the big wild card. That's the one I don't have a good handle on. And the reason I don't is you have some guys like Natchez who gets 8 years.
Yeah.
And then Hurley in Dallas got 8 years too, right? But then you have somebody like Connor McDavid taking a 2-year contract because he wants to hit free agency again.
Yeah.
What does Trevor Zegras want? Does he want to hit free agency again, or does he want a long-term commitment? You don't know. And so that's what I'm having a hard time figuring where he lands. Do I think that the team would prefer it be a long-term deal? I do.
Sure.
Because you know that down the line that number is going to be much more team-friendly. But does the player and his agent look at it and say, we want it to be shorter, and then we'll come to a conversation again as we get closer to the end of it?
If you could get Trevor Zegras for anything under 9 right now at term, you make the deal right now. Because play this one out with me. If you look at where the team is currently cap-wise, is Trevor Zegras, regardless of if he's a center or a wing, just put together the production that you expect him to have, Is he better than Owen Tippett?
Oh, yes.
Is he substantially better than Owen Tippett? I would
Depends,
say
depends how Owen Tippett's playing.
Yeah, yeah.
So I would say he's at least a good bit better than Owen Tippett. So certainly north of 6. Is he on par with what you would want to get out of Travis Konechny? They're different players, but point production-wise, he's ahead of Konechny. He potentially plays center, which is a more valuable position. If Konechny's getting 8.7, and I get it, that contract was signed before the cap started jumping, would you be comfortable with Trevor Zegras making the same money that Travis Konechny is? I think, based on the position and the point production and the age, only 24.
Yeah.
I would say you say yes.
The one thing to keep in mind is the one little caveat that I mentioned is they do have 10 players on their current roster, not minor leaguers, 10 players on the current roster who are RFAs at the end of the season.
That includes Brink, Grabenkin. Grabenkin's going to be cheap, though. He's making $875 this year. Brink is making 1.5. So those guys should come back at a pretty reasonable number, you would think. Drysdale is going to get an increase on $2.3 million. Zamula, I don't think will be here, so
Right.
I don't think that one's going to matter. I don't think Jacob Gaucher is going to matter much, do we? I mean, I don't know.
Probably not.
So that's two you can kind of rule out. Adam Yinning, that'll be an interesting conversation at 26 years of age. Certainly going to get an increase over $787,000. Emil Andre's in pretty much the same boat there. Like, it might be one or the other with those guys. You don't really know.
Right.
I think if you kind of look at it like that,
And then both backup goalies.
Well, and that's
Urson and
that's a
Kolosov.
totally different thing. But like,
But it's money. So
Yeah,
in other words,
yeah.
you have to consider that against your cap.
I would say of the 10, then you say maybe 7 of those guys are ones that you would probably want to look at.
Right.
Bringing back.
So you have to save enough room for all those guys
Yeah.
out of that $46 million that you're under the cap right now.
Yep.
So the ones you want to bring back, you have to figure that out what it's going to be, and you don't want it to get to such a low number that you can't really do anything to improve the team in the offseason. So I think that matters in this conversation.